When your phone rings at 3 a.m., don't answer, even if it's a famous voice. The silence of 3 a.m. was a heavy blanket, suffocating and profound. Liam, 24 and perpetually tethered to the digital world, usually welcomed it. It was his prime time for coding, for losing himself in lines of logic and the glow of his monitor. But tonight, the silence was broken by a shrill, insistent ringtone. Not his usual calming chime, but an unfamiliar, almost jarring melody. He blinked, his eyes gritty from hours of staring at code. His phone, usually a silent sentinel on his bedside table, was vibrating relentlessly. An unknown number? He hesitated. Every instinct screamed, "Don't answer." But curiosity, that insidious serpent, whispered, "What if it's important?" He swiped. "Hello?" His voice was a raspy whisper, unused to the sudden intrusion. A pause. Then, a voice. Deep, resonant, and utterly, unmistakably his own. Not just similar, but identical. It was the voice that narrated his internal monologues, the one he heard when he spoke, amplified and deepened by the phone's receiver. "Liam," the voice said, urgent and strained, "don't leave the house. Whatever you do, don't leave." Liam felt a cold prickle crawl up his spine. "Who is this?" he demanded, his heart beginning to thump in erratic rhythm against his ribs. He checked the number again. Still unknown. "This isn't funny, Mark." He thought of his prank-loving friend, but Mark's voice was higher, laced with a perpetual smirk. This voice was raw, desperate. "It's you, Liam," the voice insisted, a tremor in its tone. "From the future. You have to listen. Stay inside. Don't go out. Not for anything." Liam scoffed, a nervous, disbelieving sound. "Future me? What, did I invent a time machine in the next 5 minutes?" "Look, whoever this is, you've got the wrong number or you're seriously messed up." "No!" The voice was sharper now, laced with a frantic edge. "The street, the corner of Elm and Maple. Don't go there. Don't even step outside. Just stay. Please, Liam, for your own sake." There was a rustling sound, a choked gasp, and then the line went dead. Liam stared at his phone, the screen now dark. His mind raced, trying to process the bizarre call. Was it a sophisticated deepfake? A new, unsettling prank? He tried to rationalize it, but the sheer conviction in the voice, the desperate plea, gnawed at him. He tried calling the number back, but it went straight to a generic voicemail, an automated message about the subscriber not being available. He got out of bed, his bare feet hitting the cool wooden floor. He paced his small apartment, the unsettling words echoing in his head. Don't leave the house. Don't go to Elm and Maple. He lived just 2 blocks from that intersection. It was his usual route to the corner store, to the park, to anywhere. He tried to shake off the unease. It was just a prank. A very elaborate, very disturbing prank. He needed coffee. Strong, black coffee. His mind, usually sharp and logical, felt clouded, fuzzy with a nascent dread. He walked into the kitchen, the silence of the apartment suddenly oppressive. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant hum of the refrigerator seemed amplified, sinister. He brewed his coffee, the gurgle of the machine a welcome, mundane sound. As the aroma filled the small space, a flicker of defiance sparked within him. He wasn't going to let some weird call dictate his movements. He had an early meeting, a deadline. He needed to clear his head, maybe take a short walk before dawn broke. The idea of being cooped up, imprisoned by an anonymous voice, was infuriating. He dressed quickly, pulling on jeans and a hoodie. His hand hovered over the doorknob. Don't leave the house, his voice resonated in his skull. He shook his head, pushing the irrational fear away. He was a rational person. This was absurd. He opened the door and stepped into the cool pre-dawn air. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows. A faint mist clung to the ground, giving the familiar street an eerie, otherworldly feel. He pulled his hoodie tighter, the chill seeping into his bones. He walked briskly, trying to convince himself that everything was normal. The air was crisp, the sky a deep indigo, just beginning to lighten at the horizon. He passed the sleeping houses, their windows dark, their inhabitants oblivious to the strange drama unfolding in his mind. As he approached the intersection of Elm and Maple, His heart began to pound again, a frantic drum against his ribs. He told himself it was just the caffeine, the lingering effects of the bizarre call. He reached the corner, the old oak tree standing like a silent sentinel, its branches gnarled and dark against the lightning sky. And then he saw him. Standing under the flickering streetlight on the opposite side of the street was a man. He was dressed in a dark hoodie, his hands shoved into his pockets, his head slightly bowed. And then he looked up. Liam froze. It was him. Not just someone who resembled him, not a doppelganger, but him. The same messy brown hair, the same sharp jawline, the same slightly crooked nose, even the same faded blue hoodie he sometimes wore, though this one looked a little more worn, a little more lived in. The other Liam looked tired. His eyes, usually bright with a spark of youthful ambition, were shadowed, haunted. There was a desperate weariness etched into the lines around his mouth. He looked like a man who had seen too much, endured too much. Future him. The thought hit Liam with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't a prank. This was real. The call, the warning, the desperate plea. The other Liam took a step forward, then hesitated. His gaze was fixed on Liam, a profound sadness in his eyes. He raised a hand, a gesture of warning, or perhaps a silent plea. His lips moved, but no sound reached Liam across the quiet street. He was mouthing words, words that Liam couldn't quite discern, but the urgency in his expression was clear. Liam felt a primal fear seize him. His blood ran cold. He wanted to run, to scream, to disappear. But he was rooted to the spot, mesmerized by the impossible sight before him. The future Liam looked around frantically, as if searching for something, or someone. His eyes darted to the empty street, then back to Liam, a look of growing panic on his face. He took another step, then another, moving towards Liam, his pace quickening. Liam instinctively recoiled, taking a step back. The future Liam stopped, his shoulders slumping. He lowered his head, a gesture of defeat, and then, from the shadows of the alleyway next to the old oak tree, a figure emerged. Tall, gaunt, cloaked in something dark that seemed to absorb the faint light. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, a predatory grace. Liam couldn't make out any features, just a looming silhouette against the pre-dawn gloom. The future Liam looked up, his eyes widening in terror. He tried to turn, to run, but the shadowy figure was too fast. It lunged, a silent, swift movement. There was no scream, no struggle, just a sickening, muffled sound, and then the future Liam crumpled to the ground, vanishing into the deeper shadows of the alley. The figure stood over him for a moment, then slowly turned its head. Liam felt its gaze even though he couldn't see its eyes. A cold, palpable dread washed over him, a feeling of being hunted, of being utterly, hopelessly vulnerable. He didn't wait. He turned and ran, his legs pumping, his heart a frantic drumbeat in his ears. He didn't look back. He ran until his lungs burned, until his muscles screamed in protest. He ran all the way back to his apartment, slamming the door shut, locking it, fumbling with the deadbolt. He leaned against the door, gasping for breath, his body trembling uncontrollably. He was soaked in a cold sweat, his mind a whirlwind of terror and disbelief. He had seen it, his future self, and he had seen something else, something that had taken him. The phone in his pocket vibrated. He pulled it out, his hands shaking so violently he almost dropped it. Unknown number. He stared at it, his breath hitched in his throat. He knew who it was, or rather, who it had been. He didn't answer. He couldn't. He just stood there, listening to the relentless, chilling ring, knowing that the warning had been real and that he had ignored it. And now the future was no longer a distant concept. It was here, outside his door, waiting. And he was next. The ringing stopped. The silence returned, but it was no longer profound. It was a terrifying, expectant silence, filled with the echo of a desperate voice and the chilling image of himself, gone. He was trapped. The house was no longer a sanctuary, but a cage. And outside, the predator waited.